What if I told you that God has already written your personal wealth and family plan, and it's hidden in plain sight inside Psalm 112? Most people read it like a devotional, never realizing it's a blueprint for breaking poverty, building lasting health, and leaving a legacy that spans generations. This psalm isn't just about being good or faithful. It's about following specific divine principles that align your life with God's prosperity system. When applied, doors start opening that no human effort could create. Opportunities multiply. Favor surrounds you. Family stability becomes a reality. And most importantly, the curse of lack is replaced with the inheritance of abundance. Today, you're about to learn how to take Psalm 112 off the page and put it into action, so your life, your family, and your legacy start reflecting the wealth and blessings God intended for you. You see, most people think wealth is something you chase. They wake up every day, grind, hustle, thinking that money is just a numbers game. But what if I told you that there's a blueprint and a divine system already written for your life? It's not in a book on a shelf. It's not a financial seminar. It's hidden in the Word of God in Psalm 112. And here's the thing. If you follow this blueprint, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. It doesn't matter how much debt you have. It doesn't matter the circumstances you were born into. God has already designed a path for you to walk into prosperity. Psalm 112 talks about the person who fears the Lord and delights in his commandments. Now, that phrase alone doesn't sound like a wealth-building tip, but that's because most people don't understand the connection between obedience and opportunity. God is the original systems engineer. When you align yourself with his instructions, favor begins to flow. Doors that seemed impossible to open suddenly swing wide. People start showing up in your life to give you guidance, capital, partnerships, or mentorship without you even asking. That's how the blueprint works. It's designed so that when you follow it, the system moves on your behalf. And notice how Psalm 112 describes the person who follows these principles. It says they will be blessed, not just in one area, but in multiple dimensions of life. Financially, yes, but also in influence, in respect, in stability, and in legacy. This is a pattern. It's not random. There's cause and effect built into the universe, and God has encoded it into his word. Think about it like this. When an architect designs a building, every beam, every pillar, every wire is planned before construction begins. You don't just throw bricks together and hope it stands. Psalm 112 is your architectural plan for a life that stands. A life that thrives, a life where wealth is not just an accident, but a product of a divine system. Now, here's where most people stumble. They see the blessed part and think it's only about money, or they think it will happen instantly. That's not how the blueprint works. It's about alignment. Alignment with God's principles, alignment with integrity, generosity, faithfulness, and diligence. When you line yourself up with what God has written, the blueprint starts activating. And what's beautiful is that it's designed to multiply. You're not just receiving a paycheck. You're entering into a system that produces sustainable results. It's the difference between chasing a fish in the pond versus planting a tree that will feed your family for generations. Look at the actions the psalm highlights. It talks about being generous, about giving to the needy, about walking with integrity. These aren't just moral statements. They are strategic instructions. When you follow them, you create credibility, trust, and influence. And those are currencies the world cannot produce on its own. Generosity activates favor. Integrity attracts partnerships. Faithfulness positions you to receive more. That's the system God built, and it's embedded in Psalm 112. Every principle, when applied, produces a measurable outcome. That's the beauty of a blueprint. It works when followed. But here's the truth most people never hear. God's blueprint is not just for the person who already has it all together. It's for anyone who is willing to start. You don't have to be rich to apply it. You don't have to have the perfect family, the perfect career, or the perfect health. The moment you begin to obey, the system begins to work. It's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, life starts responding differently. Opportunities appear, people show up, doors open, and it's not luck. It's the effect of walking in alignment with a divine plan that predates your birth. And the most powerful part, this blueprint is not limited to just your financial gain. It flows into every part of your life. Your home, your family, your relationships, your reputation, your health, they all benefit when you follow God's instructions. The system is holistic. Wealth isn't just dollars. It's stability, it's peace, it's the ability to impact others. It's the freedom to make choices without fear. That's why following this blueprint changes everything. It transforms you from someone who works for money into someone who moves in alignment with God's design. And when you do, wealth and blessing become natural byproducts. So today I want you to hear this and really let it sink in. Wealth is not random. Poverty is not inevitable. There is a divine system, a blueprint written by God, and it's found in Psalm 112. When you start following it step by step, principle by principle, the system begins to move on your behalf. It's not about chasing, it's about alignment. Obedience activates favor, integrity produces trust, and generosity multiplies influence. That's how a life is built, not by accident, but by design. If you follow this blueprint, poverty breaks, and prosperity becomes a natural outcome of your obedience. You know, one of the most misunderstood principles about success is this. People think that hard work alone is enough. They believe that if they grind, sacrifice, and push themselves past exhaustion, doors will eventually open. And sometimes that works. But here's the truth. Without favor, without divine alignment, hard work can be exhausting, frustrating, and often fruitless. Favor is the multiplier. Favor is what turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. And Psalm 112 shows us how favor comes to those who follow God's system, who live with integrity, generosity, and faith. Think about it like this. You could work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but if favor isn't on your side, you're still going to hit walls. But favor is like a secret accelerator. It opens doors that hard work alone cannot. It puts people in your path who can mentor you, invest in you, or guide you in ways you never imagined. Favor rearranges circumstances in your life to position you exactly where you need to be. That's why the Bible says in Psalm 112 that the person who fears the Lord will have their righteousness endure forever, and their horn will be exalted with honor. That's not just spiritual language. That's favor producing measurable results in your life. Here's another thing people don't get. Favor often comes quietly. It's not always flashy. Sometimes it's a conversation with the right person at the right time. Sometimes it's a small connection that turns into a massive opportunity. Sometimes it's an unexpected provision or insight that saves you years of struggle. And what triggers favor? It's obedience. It's living according to God's principles. When you do what God instructs, when you live with integrity, generosity, diligence, and humility, favor begins to move on your behalf in ways you cannot engineer or predict. Let me break it down. Favor multiplies your efforts in 3 powerful ways. First, it multiplies your opportunities. Doors that seem closed suddenly open. People who would normally ignore you now notice you. Situations that appear hopeless begin to shift. And it's not magic, it's divine alignment. Favor is God moving in your life, positioning you to receive what you've been praying for, what you've been working toward, and sometimes things you didn't even know you needed. Second, favor Favor multiplies your results. You could do the same task as someone else, but favor changes the outcome. That deal closes for you, the proposal is accepted, the contract lands in your hands, or the promotion comes your way. Favor doesn't just make things happen. It makes things happen better, faster, and with more impact than you could have achieved on your own. It's the difference between being busy and being effective. Third, favor multiplies your influence. Once favor begins to flow in your life, it changes how people perceive you. Leaders, mentors, colleagues, and even strangers begin to recognize the value in you. Opportunities to influence others, to mentor, and to lead increase exponentially. And here's the beauty. When favor multiplies your influence, it doesn't just benefit you. It benefits your family, your community, and your legacy. That's why Psalm 112 says that the blessings of the righteous extend to their children. Favor doesn't just enrich you, it creates ripple effects for generations. Now, most people try to manipulate favor. They think it comes from networking, flattery, or scheming, but true favor, the kind that multiplies efforts, cannot be earned by human means. It's a divine principle. Favor comes to those who align with God's ways, who honor His word, who walk with integrity, and who are generous with what they have. And here's the kicker. The more you live in obedience, the more favor compounds. It's not a one-time deal. It builds like interest in a bank account. The longer you follow God's blueprint, the greater the acceleration of favor in your life. And this is why favor is so critical, because effort without alignment can leave you exhausted, frustrated, and stuck. Favor is what ensures that your work produces results beyond what you could imagine. It's what allows you to walk into opportunities you didn't even see coming. It's what allows your family, your business, and your health to experience breakthroughs in ways that feel miraculous, but are actually the natural outcome of divine alignment. So if you've been struggling, if you've been working hard but feel like nothing's changing, maybe it's not your effort that's the problem. Maybe it's alignment. Favor multiplies your efforts when you follow God's principles, when you live with integrity, and when you're willing to act in faith even when you don't see the immediate results. That's how doors open, how opportunities multiply, and how your life begins to reflect the blessings that God intended for you from the start. When favor moves on your life, your work no longer feels like a struggle. Your efforts begin to produce exponential results. Your influence grows and your legacy is secured. And all of this starts with a simple choice to live in alignment with God's principles and let His favor do what human effort alone cannot. Favor multiplies your efforts. And when it does, there's nothing you cannot achieve. When we talk about success, wealth, and blessings, most people only think about themselves. They think about what they can earn, what they can buy, what they can accomplish for today. But Psalm 112 teaches something far deeper, something most people completely overlook, the principle of generational impact. It's not just about you. The way you live, the decisions you make, and the principles you follow today can set a foundation that blesses your family, your children, and even your grandchildren. True wealth is never just personal. It's about leaving a legacy that continues to multiply long after you're gone. Think about it like this. Money and success are temporary if they're not grounded in a system that lasts. You can make millions, drive fancy cars, live in a big house, but if your family doesn't inherit the wisdom, the discipline, the principles, and the spiritual foundation to sustain it, it will disappear. That's why Psalm 112 says that the blessings of the righteous extend to their children. That's God's system. When you follow His blueprint, it's not just your life that changes. The ripple effect touches everyone you love. Your family begins to operate in a higher level of opportunity, wisdom, and provision. Generational impact is more than just finances, though. It's the values, the integrity, the mindset, and the faith you instill in your household. If you live your life only for yourself, your children only inherit your habits, your fears, your limitations. But when you live in alignment with God's principles, when you practice generosity, integrity, diligence, and faith, those become the spiritual and practical inheritance of your children. Every choice you make, every act of discipline, every step of obedience is planting seeds that will bear fruit for generations. That is the power of generational impact. Here's what most people miss. Legacy doesn't wait until you die. It starts today. Your daily decisions, your daily habits, your daily alignment with God's principles begin shaping the future of your family. The way you handle your finances, the way you conduct your business, the way you treat people, the way you pray, the way you invest in your spiritual life, all of that is a model for your children. Your life becomes a living blueprint for theirs. And when they see you walking in integrity, generosity, and obedience, it teaches them that success is not just about chasing money or fame. It's about following principles that produce lasting blessings. And let's be honest, generational impact is the ultimate measure of success. You can't take money with you. You can't take fame with you, but the wisdom, the habits, and the faith you pass on live forever. That's why God designed the system this way. When you live for a higher purpose and follow his instructions, your family is positioned to thrive in ways you never dreamed possible. The struggles you endured, the lessons you learned, the blessings you received, all of it becomes part of a foundation your children and grandchildren can build on. You're not just providing for one generation, you're creating a multiplying effect that will continue to grow long after you're gone. Now, the remarkable thing about Psalm 112 is that it shows how alignment with God doesn't just benefit you individually, it transforms the generational flow. When you fear the Lord, delight in his commandments, and walk in obedience, favor and blessings flow not just to you, but to those connected to you. Your actions produce influence, wisdom, and opportunity for the next generation. Your children inherit not just resources, but the understanding of how to live, work, and succeed in alignment with God's design. That is the ultimate power of living according to a divine blueprint. It's a transfer of not just wealth, but life-changing principles that shape the future. And it's not complicated. It's not about giving your kids a mansion or a bank account. Those things may come as part of the blessing, but the real legacy is much more powerful. It's teaching them how to operate in integrity, how to honor God, how to manage resources, how to seize opportunities, how to live righteously. That is the kind of inheritance that cannot be stolen, cannot be taxed, cannot be lost in a market crash. That is the inheritance that grows and multiplies naturally because it's grounded in God's system. Generational impact also gives your life meaning beyond yourself. You begin to see your struggles, your victories, your decisions, and your discipline as part of a bigger picture. Every step you take is a building block for the future of your family and your lineage. It turns daily effort into eternal significance. That is the difference between living for temporary satisfaction and living for eternal impact. It's not about what you accumulate today, it's about what you create for tomorrow. So if you want to build wealth, health, and favor, don't just think about yourself. Think about the generations that come after you. Think about the legacy you are creating right now in your family, your household, and your community. Because when you follow God's blueprint, when you walk in integrity and obedience, the blessings don't stop with you. They continue, grow, and multiply. Generational impact turns your life into a platform for lasting influence and eternal significance. When most people think about blessings, they immediately think about money, success, or influence. But Psalm 112 shows us that true prosperity isn't only financial, it's holistic. It's about health, stability, and balance in every area of life. You can have millions in the bank, a successful career, and influence in your community, but if your health is failing or your life is unstable, all that success becomes heavy, stressful, and unsustainable. God's blueprint, as revealed in this psalm, teaches us that wealth and favor flow best into a life that is anchored by stability and physical, mental, and emotional health. Stability is the foundation on which all blessings can grow. Think about a tree. No matter how much sun or water it gets, if its roots aren't strong, it will topple over in the first storm. That's exactly what life is like. Your finances, your relationships, your influence, they all need strong roots. Stability gives you the ability to withstand challenges without losing your direction, without losing your peace. Psalm 112 speaks about the person whose righteousness endures forever, whose heart is steadfast. That steadfastness is stability in action. It's the calm in the storm, the confidence when uncertainty arises, and the endurance to keep walking even when the road is difficult. Health is another pillar of true prosperity. God's system understands that you cannot maximize your potential if your body and mind are weak. Favor flows more freely when you're able to act decisively, when your energy aligns with your purpose, when your mind is sharp enough to see opportunities and act on them. That's why following God's principles doesn't just bless your finances or your family, it blesses your entire being. Taking care of your health, cultivating habits that protect your body, mind, and spirit, all of this is part of the system of prosperity that Psalm 112 highlights. And here's the truth most people ignore. Stability and health are closely linked. You cannot experience true abundance if your life is chaotic or your body is neglected. Without stability, opportunities pass by unnoticed, money is wasted, and relationships crumble. Without health, you lose the energy, focus, and strength needed to seize opportunities. But when both are aligned with God's blueprint, you become unstoppable. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You can walk into challenges without fear because your foundation is secure, your energy is aligned, and your mind is clear. Psalm 112 also emphasizes integrity and generosity as part of this holistic prosperity. Why? Because internal peace, spiritual alignment, and ethical living contribute to mental and emotional stability. When you live rightly, you sleep well at night. Your conscience is clear. You don't carry the weight of guilt or regret, and your mental and emotional health strengthen. When you combine that with physical health and a stable environment, you create a life where wealth, opportunity, and influence can flourish naturally. This is the type of blessing that lasts, the kind that doesn't disappear with market crashes or personal setbacks. And stability doesn't just protect you, it multiplies your effectiveness. When your life is organized, your priorities aligned, and your health intact, you can focus on what truly matters: growing your wealth, influencing others, serving your community, and leaving a lasting legacy. Stability turns effort into results because you are not scattered or reactive. You are deliberate, intentional, and positioned for exponential growth. Health gives you the stamina to act, and stability ensures your actions are strategic. Together, they allow you to operate at your maximum potential. Generational impact ties into this as well. When you establish health and stability in your household, your children inherit a model of life that teaches them discipline, responsibility, and resilience. They see that success isn't just about making money, it's about caring for your body, protecting your mind, and building a stable environment. They inherit the blueprint of a life that is balanced, intentional, and aligned with God's principles. That's how the blessings of Psalm 112 extend beyond the individual. Through health, stability, and holistic prosperity, you shape a legacy that continues for generations. Most people underestimate the importance of health and stability in wealth building. They chase money without building the foundations, only to collapse under pressure. God's system, as revealed in Psalm 112, is different. It begins with righteousness, integrity, and alignment with divine principles. From that foundation, stability and health emerge naturally. And when those pillars are strong, wealth, favor, and influence flow unhindered. It's a system designed for sustainability, for long-term success, and for holistic abundance. So if you want to experience true prosperity, wealth that lasts, influence that multiplies, and a legacy that endures, don't overlook health and stability. They are not secondary. They are essential. They are the pillars that allow God's favor, wisdom, and blessings to flow freely into your life and into your household. Health and stability are the hidden keys that unlock the fullness of God's blessing. Most people misunderstand what breakthrough really is. They think it comes from luck, timing, networking, or sheer effort. They believe that if they just work harder, hustle longer, and grind through every obstacle, somehow doors will open. And sometimes that works for a while. But if your life is not aligned with God's principles, those breakthroughs are temporary, fragile, or delayed. Psalm 112 shows us that the key to lasting success, influence, and blessing is righteousness. Walking in integrity, obedience, and faith is what truly unlocks breakthrough. This isn't just about being good, it's about aligning yourself with a system that produces exponential results in every area of life. Righteousness is more than following a set of rules. It's a lifestyle of integrity, generosity, and alignment with God's principles. When your actions are consistent with what is right, you create a natural flow for divine favor. That flow changes circumstances, opens doors, and produces outcomes that human effort alone could never achieve. It's why the Psalm says that the person who fears the Lord and delights in his commandments will have their righteousness endure forever. That enduring righteousness is not just about personal satisfaction. It's about activating a system that unlocks opportunity, influence, and prosperity. Think about it like this. In life, doors are everywhere, but not every door is meant for everyone at every time. Righteousness is the key that opens the right doors at the right time. It positions you for breakthroughs that align with your purpose and destiny. You can try to force doors open with manipulation, shortcuts, or schemes, but without integrity and alignment, those doors will either close again or lead to dead ends. Breakthrough is not about shortcuts. It's about walking the path of righteousness and allowing God's system to work in your favor. And here's the remarkable thing. Righteousness doesn't just unlock opportunities, it multiplies your influence. When you live with integrity, people begin to trust you. Leaders, mentors, colleagues, and even strangers recognize your character. That trust opens more doors, creates more partnerships, and allows you to impact others in ways that money or skill alone cannot. Your influence grows naturally because people are drawn to someone who operates from a foundation of righteousness. That's why the Psalm highlights the stability and respect of the righteous person. Breakthrough is not just about personal gain. It's about creating an environment where favor, respect, and opportunity naturally flow. Righteousness also protects your breakthrough. Many people achieve temporary success only to lose it through unethical decisions, shortcuts, or selfish actions. Wealth disappears, relationships fail, opportunities vanish, all because the foundation wasn't solid. Psalm 112 teaches that righteousness creates stability, not just for you, but for your household and your legacy. Breakthrough that comes through righteousness is sustainable. It's durable. It withstands challenges, setbacks, and the tests of time. When you live rightly, you don't just see short-term wins, you see long-term multiplication and lasting results. Another key aspect is that righteousness unlocks supernatural favor. There are moments in life when human effort reaches its limit, and yet a breakthrough appears almost miraculously. That is the favor of God responding to a righteous life. It's why the Psalm emphasizes the enduring blessings of the righteous, the ones who act in faith, honor God, and walk with integrity. Their lives are positioned in such a way that doors open, resources arrive, and circumstances shift, often when no human explanation exists. Breakthrough is not random. It is the natural outcome of walking in alignment with God's system. Righteousness also impacts your mental and emotional state, which is critical for breakthrough. When you live with integrity, you have confidence, clarity, and peace of mind. You are not distracted by guilt, fear, or anxiety. Your decisions become more effective because your mind is focused and your heart is steady. That clarity allows you to recognize opportunities, make wise choices, and act decisively when doors open. Breakthrough requires more than effort. It requires clarity, focus, and the ability to move boldly when opportunity presents itself. Righteousness provides that stability. Finally, breakthroughs are not just personal. When you walk in righteousness, your life becomes a platform for others to experience favor and blessing as well. Your family, your team, and your community benefit. Your actions create a ripple effect that multiplies across generations, creating long-term influence and impact. Breakthrough becomes more than a personal victory. It becomes a generational blessing. So if you want breakthroughs in your finances, your health, your relationships, and your legacy, it begins with righteousness. It begins with walking in integrity, obeying God's principles, and aligning yourself with the system that produces lasting results. Human effort alone can only take you so far. True, sustainable breakthroughs are unlocked when you live rightly, act faithfully, and allow God's system to move on your behalf. Righteousness unlocks breakthroughs, and when it does, there is no limit to what God can do through your life.